Oh, hey, welcome to my desk. Today I'm going to be drawing Frog and Toad. Okay. Frog and Toad, Frog and Toad, Frog and Toad. So Frog and Toad were a series of children's books that came out in the 1970s by American author and illustrator Arnold Lobel. And Arnold Lobel was a gay man. So I just thought that, because it's Pride Month and, I really love illustration as an illustrator, that we could, put the spotlight on an influential queer artist and talk about, his impact and stuff. So that's the idea. And I went ahead and I picked out a picture from the books that I liked that we're gonna try to copy today. And so I went ahead and I did this arch beforehand off camera because you really didn't want to watch me do that. It was definitely not fun, actually, for me either. But I'm just starting here doing this kind of like vegetation around the border of the image, that just to kind of give myself a reference for where things are going to go, later on. But this is definitely going to be a challenge for me to not make any mistakes. And I don't really like to belabor the point, with erasers and stuff like that. When I'm doing these videos, I just like to, just do a drawing straight up. So that's what I'm going to try to do, but don't expect it to be exactly right. Please. So Frog and Toad were best friends. Or at least that's what the first book is called, I think. Frog and Toad are friends. And there's like this dynamic between them. I think Toad, oh no, I'm gonna forget which is which. Toad is the smaller one, I think. The smaller brownish one. And Frog is the taller green one, I think. I'm not sure now, actually. Dang it. But, alright, so for the purpose of this video, that's how it is. And Frog is like the more uptight, less adventurous one of the two. And if you ask me, he kind of seems a little bit depressed. It's funny going back and reading these books, or just like a bit of them, because I did read them as a kid. My parents got me some of these books and would read them to me. Or, yeah. There's a lot of things that just go over your head, I think that's just a common thing you see in children's media if you're like revisiting that kind of thing. And these books especially, because they are, for an especially young age group, like 4 to 8. These books were like, they're called easy readers. Easy readers are like transitional books for kids that are like starting to learn to read. So it's like when they're kind of graduating from picture books, these books are like meant to help them kind of become more confident readers. And so like the text is always very simple and with many uses of what are called sight words, like the, and, then, that kind of thing. So yeah, a lot of things go over my head, or went over my head. And yeah, I do think upon revisiting these stories, seeing the way that they are just, with each other, there's definitely like a romantic subtext to their relationship, I think. Although officially they're friends. And the books have been, widely praised as like an illustration of the importance of friendship. But yeah, they go on adventures together, and they explore nature together, and they just enjoy each other's company, They're always like doing cozy things, like tea and counting the stars and all that kind of stuff. Arguably things that you would do with a partner. And I think even the parents probably didn't think about it that way at the time. These books, like I said, they came out in the 70s. And at the time, Arnold Lobel was married to a woman that he met in art school at Pratt in New York. And she was also, an illustrator and an artist, and she and Arnold Lobel worked together a lot on several different projects. Her name was Anita Kempler. And she was, they had a child together, too. I think her name was Adriana Lobel, or something like that. I know it started with an A. But yeah, the books were hugely successful. And after the first one came out, or after the first couple came out, Arnold Lobel finally came out himself to his family. And although they did separate, I believe they kept a good relationship. Like, they didn't leave on bad terms or anything like that. And, even until his passing in the 80s, they remained good friends. So I think, no bad blood there, which is good. And his daughter has actually been a huge supporter and tried to keep her father's name alive, I guess. She's like supported a lot of different things, including a release of his unpublished books. So like years after his death, they found like his black and white drawings for an unpublished Frog and Toad book. And she did the coloring herself, and they released it, I think not even that long ago, maybe in the 2000s. But apparently like the format was completely different, and they made a special effort to like not like tarnish the legacy of the previous books, you know. And there's also been a claymation adaptation, as well as many like audiobooks, and pretty recently, like a few years ago, there was an Apple TV series as well. Which I haven't seen, but I think it's kind of like Little Bear vibes, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, I do think that, well, apparently the initial inspiration for these books were from a time in Arnold Lobel's life as a child. So when he was like in second grade, he was ill for an extended amount of time, which kept him out of school for most of the year. And during that time, he read a lot of picture books and was drawing a lot. And he was also a kid that was kind of bullied a lot. Didn't really have a lot of friends. So like books and drawing were his friends. Which, you know, is sad, but I think relatable for a lot of people. Especially queer people, probably. So I guess that experience it really influenced his style, but also kind of like the tone and the content of his books. And he was quoted as saying that Frog and Toad were two sides of him. Yeah, I don't know. I think I was saying before, but the smaller one is like more serious and kind of depressed, and the taller one is a little bit more adventurous and joyful. Even though they're both very kind. So yeah, the books are just really wholesome, and they celebrate, well, they celebrate love, no matter what type of love it may be, and just how interpersonal connections can really bring meaning and value to your life, which I think is really sweet and beautiful. And, you know, these books were really well received at the time and continue to be. Even with this new, well, especially with this new lens, but at the time I don't think it was necessarily something that people were considering. You know, it kind of went over most people's heads, I think. But yeah, he won several awards for these books. And prior to these books, he was not very successful as an illustrator or an artist. He was working mostly in advertisements to support himself. And so I think I'm just gonna fill in this bike here, and we're almost finished. So unfortunately, Arnold Lobel did pass away from cardiac arrest due to complications of AIDS. He did suffer for quite a long time, and he was cared for until the end of his life by his partner. A fate that fell on a lot of really great artists and people at that time, in the 80s. We really lost a lot of culturally significant people due to that crisis. It's definitely really sad. I'm going to add a little bit more to these flowers and grass and stuff, just to give it a little bit more dimension. But yeah, I definitely loved these books as a kid, and I think it's important to remember not only the books, but the person behind them. Okay, I think I'm done. Well, I hope you like this one. Let me know in the comments if you read these books growing up. And happy Pride. And I will see you in the next one. Bye.